All right. So we'll start with Lama Tsongkhapa Guru Yoga. On the heart of the sever of the 100 deities of the Shida, on the peak of cloud resembling clump of a screening white fresh curd, King of Dhamma, listen, Lawson Drapa, please come here together with your sons. In the sky before me, a lion throne, lotus and moon, my perfect pure Guru smiles with delight. Supreme field of merit from a mind of faith, please abide for 100 eons to spread the teachings. Your holy mind is the intelligence that understands the full extent of objects to be known. Your holy speech with its excellent explanation is an ear ornament for those of good fortune. Your holy body is radiantly beautiful with glory renown. To you are meaningful to see, hear, and remember are prostrate. Pleasant drinking water, various flowers, fragrant incenses, light-scented waters, and so forth. Oceans of cloud-like offerings, both actually arranged and mentally emanated, I offer to you the supreme field of merit. Whatever non-virtue of body, speech, and mind, especially those opposite to the three vows that I've collected from beginningless time, I confess each and every one with fervent regret from my heart. You strove for much learning and practice in this degenerate age and made your freedoms and richnesses meaningful by abandoning the 8 worldly concerns. Sever will sincerely rejoice in your extensive deeds. Perfect pure holy gurus on the billion clouds of wisdom and compassion in the sky of the Dhammakaya. Please let fall a rain of fun and extensive Dhamma upon the receptacle of those to be subdued exactly as they need. May whatever virtue of collected benefit the teachings and all transmigratory beings, and in particular may it cause the essence of perfect pure Losam Drakpa's teachings to shine forever. Sashi Poki Geshe Meto Tamri Rabling Shi Nidegen Pari Sangye Shindu Mikte Ova Girdroku Namda Shin La Chupa Shu. By the merit of having offered this mandala to Lama Tsongkhapa and his 2 sons, may I, my family members, and all sentient beings be able to meet, practice, and actualize the teachings of the victorious one, Losam Drakpa, where the morality of an eminently pure way of life was courageous and extensive conduct of the sons of the victorious ones, and accomplished the yoga of the 2 stages of supreme bliss and emptiness. Idang Guru Ratna Mandala Kamniyatayami. But the force of having fervently requested in this way, hollow beams of white light are emitting from the hearts of the perfect pure father and sons, and combining into one, enter my crown. White nectar, the color of milk, flows from the opening of tube of white light, cleansing all my sicknesses, spirits harm, negative karmas, obscurations, and their imprints without exception. My body becomes as pure and clear as crystal. We will recite the 5-line Mixima verse 3 times. Mimetse wete chen chen rezi, jime kembe wangbo jampe yang, dupu malu jongze sanweta, kanchen kembe tsugen tsongrampa, losan drape shabla sowade. Mimetse wete chen chen rezi, jime kembe wangbo jampe yang, dupu malu jongze sanweta, kanchen kembe tsugen tsongrampa, losan drape shabla sowade. Mimetse wete chen chen rezi, jime kembe wangbo jampe Peyan dupo malo jongze sanweta kanche gembe tsugen zonga pa lo sanga pesha sowande.
Sangye Chedan Tsojin Chonam La Chanchu Pardu Dami Kapsu Je Dagi Shishi Jeban Dedak Drola Benche Sangye Drupara Shu Sangye Chedan Tsojin Chonam La Chanchu Pardu Dami Kapsu Je Dagi Shishi Jeban Dedak Drola Benche Sangye Drupara Shu Sanje Chedan Tsojin Shonam La Chanchu Parda Dani Kyabsun Dagi Chushin Jebanda Drola Penche Sanje Drupara Sho.
Sum.
Kanki Tuzini Zone Dawa Tomji Pambicher Tambichun Dunze Kodam Jela Chance Lo.
Not a way.
Ah,
Good
morning, everyone. And
so Geshe and I have a debate. Did we recite the refuge verse 3 times or 2 times? 3 times. All right. All right. I'm not going to say who won and who lost. It's confidential.
Me suggestion would pay that
Yeah, so now Geshe said that you got a little bit confused because there's like a very impressive person appearing here today and instilling fear in Geshe's heart. Yes, Gary.
Which is the Lodges drawer, the Lodges house drawer. The Tirilaya any legacy Zindalayo. The Huta, what the shading in chick. The Koran Chigurlana the Milla Porto or other. Zores that are any Manson Zindalaya Yamshuche mixing alangoni. The Lodges Shushu the key Cheshas Kiamada. Coranzindal Tapa, you pay much on the matter. And Chizok Tolia, Legamamushu, Chet and Diana. And it chet Cheshmaris. One Iran is Ra.
Geshe has been here for 8 years, more than 8 years. And of course, meeting different people here at Music Institute. One of them is Gary. So Gary has been doing a lot of work here at Music Institute, but also all along coming to teachings. And so, of course, focusing on Gary and speaking only about him is, you can say, unfair in some sense. Of course, there are many other people that do that, but Gary is one of the main people that have been along for ages, since time without beginning, I reckon. And so, still coming to teaching, still being involved in, doing some work for the center. This is incredible.
Missing it, me carry Chigia by now. Shingoya, Sorgoya, the vacation was and Shin Sorn, Penangato, by the Tajik Shin Sorne. Mixigi, Chagas or the Jessica Omardania, same thing, so mixage in Gores, Mijero.
So as human beings, we have the ability to kind of to sense others, to know what others are doing or are about, to have a certain feeling towards them. And so Geshe is expressing his feeling towards you, Gary, kind of, so rather than awarding you with like a lifetime award of, giving you a present in some sense, Geshe can just express his feelings.
Oh, did it that? There's a thing on the dragon someday, Shinig Migba. Shinig Migba, the cousin. Should the monkey can go restaurant.
Anyway, going back to the text, we have been looking at a text that is called the Middling Presentation of the Stairs of the Path to Enlightenment. It was composed by an Indian master called Tsongkhapa. We've been looking at a section of the text that covers the stairs of the path of those of the great scope, and particularly now we've been looking at the way to develop a concentration of shamatha, a concentration of calm abiding. And so most recently, we started to look at the section that explains the object that we use, the object of observation used for the cultivation of shamatha.
Terda jana di tsik di kaza chik lok tsayi na ya, yanja chik lok shana nenga skimu das jirumu chik. Dir mikba kangla teni shini drib nyam na, jirni kangsa suzu mikba ngar shabar tanyin las. Suzu kamda meba la teni mikba kia chik yoba di, ani penata chik ndosha chala ya, ani mudugwa dan, shedan chala ya, chamba kum ya la soba, ani timu chala ya. Teni odindi gita ramba di, ko chidang ramba chik res.
And so we're going to go back to the text and pick up from a section that we've already read through. It's just a short passage before we go on and cover some new material. So in the section that comes under the heading of identification of objects for specific situations, it says, on which object is shamatha accomplished here? In general, the meditation objects for individual people are just as explained above. In particular, it is important that those with predominant discursive thought meditate on the breath. And so we spoke of how we choose objects for the cultivation of a concentration that is shamatha, calm abiding. And we said that since we have different types of mentalities and for us different afflictive emotions predominates, then if you in your mind stream anger predominates, then you choose one object. If attachment predominates, you might choose another object.
Terda chabardu namdo she chabana long gomba nedu cheos. Shanya tadarji sanji ngonsum tu shubi tengen zanda tengen ze gyabu jesu chane gomram parwatan tamale teshi shibi kola mingne tengen zuba sola lebin chanchu sambi kyang kola mingne tengen zuba somba lamrim jawar transos.
It says in particular, it is important that those with predominant discursive thought meditate on the breath. Alternatively, the second and third stages of meditation by Kamala Shila follow the sutra on concentration that precedes the Buddha of the present face to face, and the King of Concentration Sutra. In teachings, the accomplishment of concentration observing the Tathagata's body. Commentary on difficult points of Lamb for the Path also quotes statements by Master Bodhibhadra that concentration is accomplished observing the Tathagata's body.
Terda lamrim jawale jamba tagara ta yin sungo sari jerumuchigi tagara yins ra mixegi telaya shivjato tindike gomares joji kan somba ti pigege ani tagara res.
So here Lama Tsongkhapa explains that the commentary on the difficult points of the Lamp for the Path. The Lamp for the Path is a text that was composed by an Indian master called Atisha. And the commentary to that text states that Master commentary also quotes statements by Master Bodhibhadra that concentration is accomplished observing the Tathagata's body, a Buddha's body. And it seems that here in this explanation, Lama Tsongkhapa is following exactly this explanation, choosing to focus on the Buddha's body, the Tathagata's body, as an object for cultivating concentration.
Tan do mambu nana le sondeya ani thabar leben kamala shiladan ani leben chancho sambo ta lamrim jewan trawandi choji pande adisha telaya gacha gyan gyatan we gyabkyo Lama Tsongkhapa ge che ta tindri ani kulamin tengin ze drupati ani nenga chenji imba signi ta ani shon ko mambu ma digba marin digi yung yorasra and digging goras. The nenga jinza digging goras.
And so here Lama Tsongkhapa states that there are ample quotations found in Sutra, in texts that were composed by Kamalashila, his different extents of the stages of meditation, commentary that was composed by Bodhibhadra, Atisha's text, The Lamp for the Path of Enlightenment, and Lama Tsongkhapa shows his support for all these systems. So altogether, it seems that he emphasizes the point here, the point of choosing a particular object for the cultivation of a concentration to the shamatha, Buddha's body, the Tathagata body. In some sense, you can say that there is no, in this presentation, there is no much need to cite those quotations coming from different sources, but Lama Tsongkhapa does make it a point to cite those quotations from sutras, from other Indian masters, in order to say that this is what those great systems have asserted with respect to the focal object of concentration.
다 내가 친구이 균선 디레다 인줄 디네마 송고요데 내가 가지는 내가 투요레스 라운디 텔라 상기기 콜라 셈즘바네스 내가 당부디 상기 제수 템바 임베 소놈 타이바 기바동스 아니 내가 니바디 고데 넘버 살신 땅나 차단 초바던 물론소 속소비 신당 샤덤소 드버종이기 신 미버체발라 캐체와당스.
And so why is this point emphasized? Well, this point is made here because the following paragraph reads, in the concentration on the Buddha's body, limitless merit arises through recollecting the Buddha. If your image of that body is clear and stable, it makes a great difference to your visualization of the field of accumulation for accumulating merit through prostrations, offering, prayers, and so forth, as well as field for purifying obscuration through confession, restraint, and so forth.
일단 딘디게로 내가 마 디바이나 아니 페나 치비체 상지 제덴레
Also, it says its great advantage is also revealed by the excellent benefit that your recollection of the Buddha does not deteriorate at the time of death.
Gyawa doji changi sombi gyugi chokni tenbigi lamdro zuga rimbadi doi lamdro zuga rimbadi lesu nembe gyani niga sondri chini gomgo yonza ane ngagi lam seti gogore di gombi ngagi lam gomna fayi nenjole kechewa sogi gobo mambu yongores ra kula mingni tenghinzu druyatila.
Especially, it says here, by the great difference it makes to deity yoga when you cultivate the path of mantra and so forth. And so far we had an explanation of the way to sustain, to develop concentration in following the steps of the path of the sutra system. But not only that, when we then think of following the steps of the path as taught in the Vajra system by the victor, Vajradhara, teaching the tantric system, he also makes a point in focusing on a Buddha body for cultivating the path of mantra. And so we combine these two explanations coming from a sutra perspective and coming from a tantric perspective. Also, in focusing on a Buddha image as our focal object, it does make a difference in a following of the mantra path. So it says here, by the great difference it makes to deity yoga when you cultivate the path of mantra and so forth.
Tere duse da nganzu manche gyuyon do kawarewas ra lama tsungabagi lamrong kormambu uchik sonyores pena dushu rodi ani yonde shigumare yonde shigumegi lamrong nimbu dunu sondia ani donghan igigi netsu dunu jarni sonyormado ani dochok ge lamdrotsu rimbachibu ma son shajawa dindiyo mares ani lamrum duden re 아니 람름 진 람름 쳔바데 임바 아니 ngaramri samanalaya 아니 지 동하 니기기 람트츠고 름바디 아니 듄이 씹친 아니 송도 제츠고 름바디 잔 송요레스.
And so for those of you who are familiar with the teachings of the great Tsongkhapa, he composed different extents of text explaining the steps of the path of enlightenment, the Lamrim. The most abridged one is likely to be the foundation of all good qualities, which for us condenses the essence of the teachings of the Buddha. And in this text, as for those of you who are familiar with this text, you can see that Lama Tsongkhapa extracted the key points, the essential points from not only the sutra system, but he also makes a point with respect, or points with respect to the tantric system, thereby combining them into one explanation, explaining the key points of the steps of the path of enlightenment. And likewise, you see that this mode of explanation is found when he taught the abridged presentation of the steps of the path of enlightenment, the middling presentation, the great presentation, also when he explains the steps of the mantra path, the steps of enlightenment, the stages on the path of enlightenment of the mantra path. In all of these texts, it brings together the key points from the steps of the path of the sutra and mantra path, and the explanation of focal object, for example, chosen for the cultivation of concentration is as explained here.
Tiridinza chidang sanji kitembare thakdun duchi ani pyo kanjen jongla ya tashi sanji kitembadi 아니 자침부 쓰고야 하도 장관을 중간에 준비 땜바디 믹스에 자침부 쓰고야 균센트 가르레 슬라운디 티렌도 왔어. 아니 산기 추줄 차 안상하지. 아니 산기 아니 갤롱 넘버지 초구주고 넘버지 펜니 아니 도이 추송 요레스. 겨우 도지 장기 꼴래야 상치니 아니 기 추송 요레스. 간지 아니 도규니가기 님보디 찬상원디 아니 싸워지는 아니 송바인자 산기의 추출 찬상원디 아니 싹제 달숨기건다 아니 땡라 파비여반자 자치고의 윤센테레스 윤센테레스.
Not only in general the teachings of the Buddha, but particularly the form of Buddhism that developed in Tibet, Tibetan Buddhism, which gave rise to scholars such as Tsongkhapa, the great Tsongkhapa. And so we regard Lama Tsongkhapa to be such an precious, such an great master. And the reason for that, the reason for regarding Lama Tsongkhapa as being such an incredible master is because of his presentations that combined in a complete sense all the presentation of the steps of the path of enlightenment. And so Buddha Shakyamuni first off gave teachings on the sutra system in taking the form of a fully ordained monk, and teaching the steps of the tantric system arising into the form of Vajradhara. And so Lama Tsongkhapa, in combining those two systems together, very clearly gave us a complete presentation of the steps of the path of enlightenment, a presentation that can be analyzed and investigated in a way that is similar to the way that you investigate a nugget of gold to make sure that you have an authentic nugget of gold. So you might melt it in fire, you might cut it in two, you might rub it, just in order to verify that you have an authentic piece of gold. And also looking at the presentation that Lama Tsongkhapa provided, extracting the key points from the sutra system and the tantric system, and combining them into one presentation can also be analyzed in a similar fashion, demonstrating that it is a valid system. And for that reason, we appreciate the greatness of Lama Tsongkhapa.
데리다 디앙안즈 신고야 지로 신고야 지금 잠블리 나로라야 하든다 지 아니 샤쇼기 유르망부 지라야 산기기 템바 다리오레스 오늘 야부슈 다리오레스 이마이나야 지 창상원디 then kansa ger sozola nganzugi kansa sosungu mari nyamlenching Geshe gyatama yungures inaya pigi ani 가서다 바 용다게 퇴som 롬니 체제 아니 랑기 강 아니 지마치진 켄지는 바 아니 마 탭톨로 꿰진으로 아니 진주 그 두지게 아니 비 산기기 추수 찬상원지 렌초조 성인디 니뇨렌다스 이제 디 난게다 아니 똑다워진다 겨우순가 배워반자 아니 디치긴다 아니 짜침보레샤스 기침보레샤스.
Looking at the world around us, Buddhism spread around the world in different directions, and particularly when we think of the travel of Buddhism across countries in Asia. So Buddhism has well spread throughout Southeast Asia, but then in terms of spreading in all directions in preserving a complete system of teachings of the Buddha, well, this is something that we can look into. And of course, we can just here make general statements because as human beings, we are not capable of taking the measure of each and every practitioner. So now, of course, you could say that as Buddhism spread all across Southeast Asia, there are practitioners who put the teachings of the Buddha into practice in a complete manner. But still, in general, when you look at the spread of Buddhism across Southeast Asia, you can appreciate that the way that it is maintained in certain locations or certain places that allow followers to study and reflect upon the complete set of the Buddha's teachings. This doesn't happen in all places that Buddhism traveled to. And so to have those that do have a complete, that have studied the teachings of the Buddha completely, the system of Sutra, the system of Tantra, and also make it very accessible to others. This is you can say, a rare situation. And Lama Tsongkhapa is someone that has done it. And for that reason, we appreciate the greatness of Lama Tsongkhapa. For us, he's a very special or precious teacher.
아니 타와드 탐진김비 공부되는 예고도 하스라. 다 타와드 탐진김비 디난게 다 탐진김 산기 공부되는 예기진 바이나. 심전 탐지기 저 산기 공부되는 예기지나. 가르고그레스라디 산기 공부 드브시기 합찬상원지. 합 신지 말아봐지. 다 딩안즈라고 거래스라. 디라고 거랬다. 합찬상원 신지 말아봐디. 아니 동안 이기기 쇼근 내츠드는 땡샤기 디 메타메지래도 왔어. 디 메타메지 런 도짬비 기쇼를 때니 아니 산지기 공반 주고 줬나 갈카고 쇼치 라다디 등홍기 깨우탕부터 줘 그런 냠용부터니 마 아니 초직디 디온디 때니 디기 리비 내소르치 통해줘라서 딩이 신수세고 말다 이나에 권한 원내 레샤 상하기 소화기에지어라서 도직부니 셰비기 람디기 산기 공부 두고 매바도 야시자다 말이스 딘전 아니 규 겨도지 장기송 균이 셰비기 람츠 냠드 디바이나다 아니 찬상원지 차고레스 딩안솔 고고즈 디스송도 슬라바이나 딜라만 송가고 송도 찬상원 세우 쇼지 송도.
So within the Buddha Dharma, we strive at attaining the state of liberation and or the state of omniscience, the state of Buddha. And so if we are seeking to become Buddha, if we are seeking enlightenment, the question is, what then do we need to do? What we need is the complete and unerring method for attaining the state of enlightenment, the state of Buddhahood. This is what we need. And the complete and unmistaken, unerring method for doing that is found in the combination of the sutra and mantra system. So this combination is indispensable for us, right? The sutra and mantra are indispensable for us for becoming Buddhas. And so if we rely solely on the sutra system, as some great masters of the past have stated, it would be extremely difficult to attain the state of Buddhahood only based on the sutra system. This is what the great masters of the past have concluded based upon the experience that they have developed. And so they presented this to us using a logical explanation that we can follow through reasons and logic. And so although it is difficult to understand the experience that such great masters of the past have developed, still using the logical presentation, Geshe says that he can get to a certain certainty in his mind and feeling that, yeah, this is correct. This is really what those great masters have referred to. And so if I only rely upon the sutra system, I won't be able to attain the state of enlightenment. And so the Buddha then arose into the form of Vajradhara. And in the form of Vajradhara, he taught the tantric system, which provides then a complete explanation of the way that we attain the state of enlightenment in combining both the sutra and the mantra systems. And so we have those two systems combined together, and then the question is, who taught that unified combination? Well, it is very clear that Lama Tsongkhapa, the great Tsongkhapa, has taught that.
Dini Lama Tsongkhapa bigi tan dongan yigi ne su dune ani son podu chobge na la ya son shaya di chi kome lome mayimba rangzo chin mayimba ani gyagan khibi gi son la ya tus te tusa zu di gombul du yasel soba ta kanji zu di ani tanda gyawron ji son de pendu chub dun set nanan de khibi ombo pendu chubdun jangde de di shong zu chene ani sanji chomden de gombal len chene ani siu sejai ji reshas.
And so the great Tsongkhapa explained the system of sutra and mantra in his writings. Altogether, his writings were combined together into a system of 18 volumes of teachings. And the way that Lama Tsongkhapa taught that is not without citing scriptural citations for the position that he presented. It's not that it was his own creation. In combining those teachings into those 18 volumes of teachings, he relied upon the teachings not only of the Buddha, the Bhagavan, but also teachings of Indian masters such as Nagarjuna and his spiritual children. His Holiness the Dalai Lama have emphasized the importance of the 7 Pandits of Nalanda. And so Lama Tsongkhapa in his writing has relied upon those foremost scholars, the 17 Pandits of Nalanda, explaining the teachings of the Buddha, the Bhagavan.
Terda Lama Tsongkhapa gi chenyin nang kaptula nangan tiwas ke mare chenyin nang kaptula zu pigi lamdin shusata namdo gewishin zu ti ani shonda kasa renda wa shonu lodre ra mi tenjing kita gewishin di ani renda wa shonu lodre reshas lai tenjing ki namba jing gewishin di jizun jambiya kanji ani hamini songde de gewishin di tenjing da ani sagjan ashas te nam kapdula ya zu di tanda mixima dang de dere rang gi gewishin da ani chi riksum gombo jawa riksum gombo ngo ye me de techene ani sondip chuni ani da chosa dribjan nan cheni har jawa tsongkhapa ani ti tobji ani jawa riksum gombi ngo la ya sanji shabachi and dinti ge ani da namtar yewan chokba ani ta yakbu shojore sira Teaching that makes them show, Dandy Goya Junsen, so there is wrong and cutting makes them a Dandy Goya, Penasodoji, Dandy Goya Junsen, so teach Agados.
So Lama Tsongkhapa himself relied upon spiritual teachers, virtuous friends. So he relied upon a spiritual teacher in a human form. A spiritual teacher was called Jetsun Rendawa Shunu Lodru, a spiritual teacher in a human form, but he also relied upon the Venerable Manjushri in the form of a deity. And so using that combination of those masters, Jetsun Rendawa Shunu Lodru and the Venerable Manjushri, he accumulated the collections and purified negativities and obscurations. And in this practice, he came to see his teacher as being indivisible from the protectors of the three lineages. And so we recited at the beginning of the session Lama Tsongkhapa Guru Yoga together with the Mixima verse, which is here on the screen. And so this Mixima verse was composed by Lama Tsongkhapa himself, and he composed it for his teacher, Jetsun Rendawa. And he saw his teacher, Jetsun Rendawa Shunu Lodro, as being indivisible from the protectors of the three lineages, from Chenrezig, Manjushri, and Vajrapani. And so he used this practice of Guru Yoga in seeing his Lama as being indivisible from them. And he accumulated the collections, purified negativities and obscurations. And at the end, Lama Tsongkhapa himself became exactly that. He became also in himself an enlightened being, the protector of the three lineages.
There is a daddy, sometime na Yabudos, Radadilda, Tengiz Gabole, Seji Kadotavi, Kuluchi, Jigden Gombo Kund Zebate, Mibatella, Kangi Sem Juba, Chanchu Samba, Sem Juba, Chanchu Pate, Nyamja Chechas, Kasate, Chanchu Konda, Chanchu Samba, Te Nyamja Chechas, Che Somba Tawala, Migden Chaos.
Anyway, for that reason, Geshe is emphasizing the importance of the verse Mixima, and this is a verse that Geshe also combines in his spiritual practice. And so going back to Lama Tsongkhapa's text, it says, the King of Concentration Sutra says, with his body like the color of gold, the Lord of the world is exceedingly beautiful. The bodhisattvas whose mind is engaged in this object is said to be in equipoise meditation. You should make something like that your object of attention.
Tadini Dinama Sibuyores, Migdin Chesulti, the thing is in Slaundi, so any yellow dreados, yellow tony, any Kugomiat, and Mishigi Piggy, any Kula Tawats on my by yellow tony, Kugomiat. Tinenga the Tandinamang Loshavan to the Kogres.
Now, one point that is made next is with respect to the way that we take up a Buddha image or a Buddha body as the object of attention for cultivating concentration. And so the emphasis is that we take it as an object for observation with a mental consciousness, with a mental awareness. It is not that we gaze upon that object with our eye consciousness, but we take it up with a mental consciousness. This is what the next section emphasizes.
Teang lo sar to kebatan, Ranshin gi shuba, sal deba nile, ani chimani teba kiwala kecheshins, teban tongwe kabdan tumbe, chimatar chawos.
Moreover, between the two types of visualization, one that sees the object as freshly contrived by the mind, and the one that sees the object as naturally present, the latter has the great distinction of generating faith, and it also accords with the teachings of both Sutra and Tantra vehicles. You should proceed in the latter way.
Terdadi Taranshin ji shubas laundi, Ngangi pigige, ani Suzuki Sam Khan Deviava, Mibati, Ngangi Shartubachi, Chekugres. Although Kabdu Kabdulia Deni and Sambat Samchiki, di yung maris kasna ani ngangi shabajiyo na ani deba singe di ngangi ke yung kores deba ngangi ke yung kores tinza ani ngangi shubati keche kores chimatar chawos.
So here Lama Tsongkhapa says that when you visualize a Buddha image, there is one way in which you freshly contrive, you create it in your mind, you think about it, or the other one is seeing the object as if it is naturally present, as if it appears automatically or naturally in your mind as soon as you attend your mind to it. And so the latter one is the preferable choice. Not just thinking of a Buddha image, but naturally making it appear to our mind.
당원도 샘 칸란 zembi she mikden chowa nang chiku tang loma sok tembiku lepa shik tsawa tsalas yang tashi ti tsema soni yir tu chavala komshuks yir tu chavala komshuks yana lami da treba tubi tuen samshin yingun chadu chugla mikden tsalos Migdenya Chikutan Loma Sonki number Mechavar Sangi Nguki number Chendu Chavala Tapos.
And so then Lama Tsongkhapa says, as you investigate the object of attention, the basis for the mind to focus on, first find a good painted image, statue, or the like of the teacher's body. Look at it repeatedly, capture the features, and familiarize yourself with its appearance as an object of the mind. Or else, he says, reflect on the meaning of a description by a guru that you have heard. Make it appear to your mind and pursue this as your object of attention. And so it says here at the beginning, as you investigate the object of attention, the basis for the mind to focus on, first find a good painted image, statue, or the like of the teacher's body. So you can consult Gary about good images, statues, and so forth. This is a go-to person.
So that
The size, the details, the shape.
Mixing ganzola menga ro chinju dinti ko dewe dinti cheyana tanda teshan dinti.
Gary, have you got some kind of personal instructions or instructions for what's good to use? So I'm just going to repeat it for the people at home. And so Gary says that the go-to person to look at precise depiction of an image would be Andy Weber. We have grids, proportions, the right details as created by Andy. So this is kind of a good source to use to have a precise depiction of a Buddha image, but also a Buddha. You said that a Buddha is a Buddha image, so we need to create it in our mind. Yeah. Now I have to do it again. The Lamrim the Andy Weber said, "Koran trouble the Lamrim wa." Ani tadi kisi 대신식 백구디 미바이나 아니 익된다고 치여와 자티 단디 약보 십자치 대와이나 아니 세 단디 티 카렌바디 십자전에 다 저기래 디 따쳐줘레스 얘네 근타르 쿠란 상기기 쿠 소솔로라 난추바이나 또 상기쿠 레사 데데 칼레카보시다 마레스.
칼카우시라 마레스.
칼레카보시다 마레스 데네 카두가도 소요 마레 헤네 던던디 디레 상기 나와세디 상기 나와 상기 나와레스.
Thank you.
So there are many others, many other sources of reference. Dilaya the Quran the Labri the Maim Bayan Shamba Mambo Yoresa.
인기레스 레 아제 다 간지 레 상기 꾸지 샴바인다 제바이난다 고 샴바이난다 아니 세디 당부 세드레도 세야부 고야티 완전 미지긴 바이나야 미디피 양랑간 상여 바이나야 아니 깝깔이야 고다 수보차마님 소리지 아 락바다 수보차마님 소리지 동다 나우 차마님이나 제우문도 왔어 간지 상기티 상기 꾸디 베 꾼콘세인자 아니 말레비 차 종스게 매반자 가서는 비게 개원 바시기 떡이 라 레비 참 바시기 떡이 들어봐야자 니 꿀이야 말레비 차 종스게 야 말했어 이제 샹을 깔이야 딘디기 아니 상기 꾸들이야 말레비 차 종스 그냥 매반자 니 말레비 차 소저는 디마리 삼 아니 렉처 제바나 다랑 속사란 로고스레스.
And so we might create a statue or paint a drawing of the Buddha and so forth. One of the most important things is to have the right proportion. And as Gary referred to it, kind of you have agreed with the right proportion. So it's important to have the right measurement, the right proportion, since that, for example, as human beings, our makeup is quite clear. So we have a body, we have 4 limbs, we have a head. And when you create a depiction of a certain person and you get a proportion wrong, it can look quite awkward. The head doesn't fit the body. Or, if you paint the face, you might get all the details in the face, but the nose would not fit the face. So it's important to get the proportions right. And so it's important to do it because when we think of the attitude that we develop towards the Buddha, we regard the Buddha as being one that is free from all faults, in that there is no fault or defect in the Buddha, and therefore regard whoever is the Buddha to be someone that is virtuously good, someone that is fine. There's nothing that is not fine about that being, not even in the slightest. And therefore, even as far as creating a depiction or a statue and so forth, if we think about it in terms of I want to create a certain representation which is free from all faults, even that bringing that attitude into that process is something that is used for accruing merit.
도드시는 디사라디 숑코는 저여 반자 배낭한 주기 하고몬디 한 듄드 피기 라곰 수직당 아니 소소라니 엔지 하이 옹래야 게네 라곰수 이순고레스 소소라니 하고몬 깔아야 다가랑 소소 피기게 샤탈리 트리비 루카이 바티 아니 하이 룰래야 곰난 디마레스 근데 디스는 디마레스 손라스 간즈는 디지게 샤탈리 트리비기 루기 아니 그 상기가 꾸지 요마르스 라 tinza dindiji gomna nyebares digyo mares ta di gombi kabdulya tambu susu en pigige en namji sharane tribde pa ani yechin ra pa yechin ta tab deshu jilaya chi 외국 소리지. 소수 리드바 외국 소리지 차지. 외국 공부지. 외도 저 칼리 아니 다 가르공구여는 상기 가르공구여는 배는 지선 드라마 공구여는다 지선 잠비양 공구여는다 템보 튠비왕 공구여는다 라마 숭가보 공구여는 딘디지 아니 외도 아니 하샤는다 딘디기 하딜래야 아니 저버피난 지금도 차스는 지금도 왔어 이용을 딘디샤진 딘디진 공고레스 인자 라이 검나 서서 치고야 라이 쿠티나 서서 치고야 라이 쿠 샤나 서서 치고야디 간선은 안주 쿠티야 샹야 소야 참말로 개와지기셔도 치고라스 상기 공반토야 규드야치도 치고요 반사 아니 디 가서다 녀바사나 상기 공반토야 규는 로고요 말이스
So it seems that we're a little bit off topic, but it's still related to the section that we're covering at the moment, pertaining to choosing an image of a Buddha as an object for cultivating concentration. And so we do deity meditation in our tradition. And so if we do a deity meditation, it can take two forms. Either we meditate on a deity in front of us, or we ourselves arise as a deity. Right? So there are two ways, either front generation or self generation, in which we ourselves arise as a deity. And so when we think of ourselves as arising as a deity, it's not really suitable. It's not the right way to think of ourselves as now. We are people being made of, you can say, flesh and blood. It's not really right to think of then this body of flesh and blood is also a body of a deity. So there's a certain process that we follow when we think of ourselves arising as a deity. So one good way to do it is to dissolve ourselves now in having a body of flesh and blood, to dissolve ourselves into a ball of light. And then having dissolved ourselves in that sense, kind of this ordinary appearance of a person that is made of flesh and blood disappears into a ball of light, and then from that ball of light arises whatever deity we meditate on. So if you do a deity meditation on Tara, Manjushri, Buddha Shakyamuni, Lama Tsongkhapa, what have you, then it's good to follow this process of meditation by which you dissolve this body of flesh and blood, and then you rise into a body of a deity. And then if you do it in this way, then you can slot in or fit in other parts of our practice, like, for example, making offerings, making prostrations, and so forth. And so we then take care of the way that we follow our meditation procedures, either when we meditate on a deity, or when we paint a deity, or draw one, when we construct a statue, and so forth. We do all those activities for the sake of accumulating virtue, so that they will act as causes for Buddhahood. And as such, we want to make sure that the process that we follow has no faults. For if we do incur faults in the process, those faults will not act as causes for Buddhahood.
피게 룩스그로다 동샤교 있는다 딘디디 꽤 매바지로 피게 약우치 매바이나 담부 디제체 디수순 дү레샤제 딘дү레야 초법이 디상기스 알이야 매바체 두체니 아니 코드 제데디 간삼절야 아니 미그마데나야 아니 수수이래야 kud chariyaji yungro asra ta di gyunjin ji imbaina ani susu yila ya gyunjin di chari yungro as ta di sangi la myondi pigi sangi kuzu di chik madivi sora ji chariyaji yungusara asra di yakbu ji yobaina di sangi la myondi sangi di ani kunse yondin kunden imba myoba chiyala ya kyaba tenten drogo yasares tenza susu mikten chesagwe 아니 세상 있는데 고 있는데 아니 전례부 고야디 nengaji chadishas.
The point in this section of the text is about choosing an object that we use for the cultivation of concentration. And as Lamrim Kappa recommends choosing a Buddha image or a body of Buddha, then we want to make sure that we choose something that has no faults. So you choose a certain object to begin with. You study the details. So it could be a painting, or it could be a statue. It's important to choose something that is correct, something that doesn't have any faults. First of all, we study the details, and then we, in our mind, make those details appear to our mind as we visualize that deity. And so if we choose something that has faults, we study the details, including the faults, and we make them appear to our mind, and we continue to meditate on that in this way. It could be that because the image or the statue or what have you is not right, it's not precise, that it will not fit rightly or comfortably our state of mind. That we're not going to be able to relate to that image in a comfortable way. After all, we want to then give rise in our mind to something that has no faults, that has all good qualities, so that if the image is not right, if it has faults or certain issues, and thereby our way of relating to that would also be damaged, it will not really be conducive to our meditation process.
Karida, that Sanjum den de Kungu Kobarching Anzula Rayo Marasra, Kungu Kobarchi Rayo Marada, the Kundra, and a Kunda Chenle Wuchik. Chenleshu, that Chelab Chishudi, Annie Doji Dingi, Choden Rumuchinanga, Kunyinti, then Zambali Namalaya, that Tilhaji, Yosamaris. Ki Kubar Yabu, Dimilda, Penangazu Yigdi yours. The Dindi Kubar and the Tanda Dili said, and the Chinjun Dindi, Yorta, and a Aaron Hakon, Yamanganzu, Daram Center, the Javarum Chingans, and the Nansa. But Dindichi Yobana. The Yabu show yours, the Yabu show yours. The indigenous was in Piggy, Chopper Pisagi, any Chosham Nandasha, Deli Chopper Pitagua, Tiji, Kansam, July, any Piggy. Any covered the Susun de la Menaya, and you lay a sea chartuaji, Geshe Yadam Young Sares.
And so in choosing a Buddha, in choosing an image of a Buddha, so no one was around with a camera when the Buddha was alive, so we don't have photos of the historical Buddha, but we have drawing or paintings of the Buddha that can be used. And so we have, for example, photos of good statues that can be used as a point of reference for cultivating concentration. So among statues, for example, the most precious statue that is found in the Buddhist world is the one that you find at the center of the big stupa at Bodh Gaya. So it is possible that many of you are familiar with this statue. So if you choose an image for cultivating, concentration, that would be an excellent one to use. So we have here at the back of the gompa on the wall, on top of you, we have an image of the Buddha. So something that is similar to that. And so if we choose an image such as this, and then we choose an image such as this, or you can also choose an image of, for example, the Great Tsongkhapa. Anyway, you choose an image that is well proportioned, well painted with the correct details. You can also then use that on your altar. You can make offerings and so forth. And so when you gaze on it again and again, you will come to see it clearly, even if it's not right there in front of you. So I forgot to mention that the statue of Buddha found in the Great Stupa at Bodh Gaya is a common image. A few years ago, Geshe traveled to India with Erin, and they go to see His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and His Holiness apparently gave you a photo of this statue. So you can use something like that. The point is that we study the details, we see it again and again, to the point in which even when it's not in front of you, that image is not in front of you, you can easily construct it in your mind.
That be kundra tendri kobar yo shedan kobar yo mambu yora ya jawarmuji di kora nyembandanga to as mila kon nenga jdo da jel nenga shuyo sare sra.
And so there are many paintings of the Buddha, many tankas of the Buddha, and so forth. There are many of such representations, but the one that is honest often provides with others is the Buddha statue that is of the Buddha statue that is found at Bodh Gaya at the Great Stupa. So it is of great significance.
Tere ta chan loji dan la dron yung yo na peche mi mang che la ya so di woni chodin di dun la dron ne yi nang gi ko tin je on di ge tanga su tembo ku ngo sun kundun da chanyo yo mar da yana so mix se wach jacha gyadam yo di ya tema thambo mar da kaddu dron ya ra kaddu dron ya koran dron di ko mix se jores chenlab chembo.
For those of you who have been to India, to Bodh Gaya, those of you that will go to India, to Bodh Gaya, when you see this statue at the heart of this great stupa at Bodh Gaya, it gives it kind of this special feeling. Not just once, but Geshe has been there a few times, and sometimes you go around the stupa, and whenever you see this this image, this statue, there's that special feeling that arises in one's heart.
어디래다 태양 스미대야 지구들로 모소지 넘버 미차월 상기 우기 넘버 전도 차월 라보스랑디 디 아니 그래 디 상기래야 메바친 로 설직 많이 봐야 양도다 상기 우기 삼야기 삼도디 로 검송바이나 로 검송바이나 상징의 차례식 용구여서라서.
And so the instructions that is given here is to find first a good painted image, statue, or the like of the teacher's body, and to look at it repeatedly, capture the features, and familiarize yourself with its appearance as the object of mind. And when we capture that appearance and the details, at some point, through repeatedly doing this, it will naturally appear in our mind.
근데 가지기 구수 눈도 잡아라 미기 때나 할금 제바 레베 이시디 까바네 신도리데스 라 미기 때는 다 검수셔야지 아니 레베 이시디 까거든 신도리데스 땡인즈 원실라 미두기 이실라 주바 임베 땡인즈기 의기 미바니 이시기 의 임베 델라 샘송급이 철당 할시바따르 미유 의기 된점 숭예샤발라 미고바 송비체로스.
And so the end of this paragraph, it says, however, rather than making the object of attention appear like a painted image, statue, or something like that, train for it to appear in the aspects of the actual Buddha. It makes perfect sense that Master Geshe refutes the practice of some people who set up an image in front of them, look at it with their eyes, and meditate by staring at it. This is because concentration is not accomplished with a sensory consciousness, but rather with a mental consciousness.
구차 차라니장 담보 락발라 미니 텔라 템바나스 텔타 셈 템보 토바나 치 차발라 미고바 촉셴의 송신 뇽라양 락바신도 차라위 그 락점니 미된 차고라 캬버드 신인 신인 상황식 마드 버드 드바이나니 미바지 mentioned mambo pöni cheba maronde miba mandra mambo la pögi tenginzu gomna shinin dribi kechembo gyuwi chede papa pawes miba chigla tensulti yiji samba tembarcha miba mambo gyubali yini nyumun chukban gyur shesons.
It continues in saying, Also, in accordance with what was explained above, it is so that you must focus on the idea of the meditation object or image of it that appears to you, your mind. And so then it says, elsewhere it says that although the image has both rough features and finer details, you should first focus on the rough features, and afterward, when your meditation on that has stabilized, observe the details. Based on experience, the rough features should appear very easily. So attend to the focal object starting from the rough outline of its image. In particular, when you practice, as long as you have not accomplished fully qualified concentration, it is inappropriate to move amongst many different objects. If you practice concentration while moving amongst many dissimilar objects, it will become a great obstacle to your accomplishment of shamatha. Aryasura says in the Compendium of the Perfections, stabilize the thoughts of the mind by setting it on the object. Cycling through a lot of objects disturbs the mind with mental afflictions.
Lamrim le kyang mikwa kangrun chik tala yig ne gela shakbachas she chik tala she ngezong siki sonsos.
And also, Atisha's Lamp for the Path to Enlightenment also says it with the specification on anyone. And Atisha says, place the mind on something virtuous, on anyone's suitable object.
Dadinanda mikwa chigla tebachi ani yi gewala shakba sayadi yi gewala shakba sayadi ani pigi miyudi ji tsundrak sotoji mayimba sadog sotoji mayimba sangi ngugun dushe shache ani yi tela shawandi yi bina ani ji karsawarda döshadang shedangdang ani namin la sobi ondo madamba yi de tagarang la shayadi yi gewa la shakba sayadres.
And so we focus our mind on one object. And here, this object is called a virtuous object, which means that to begin with, when we focus our mind on an object, the object of observation, rather than thinking of it as being a color or thinking of what it is made of, we adopt the mental attitude that this is a Buddha in actuality. And also focus on it without being swayed by anger, attachment, or a sense of discursiveness. It is called placing a mind on a virtuous object, right? When it is devoid of anger, attachment, discursiveness, placing a mind in this way is placing a mind on a virtuous object.
Odang cha ni dang gu kok shen dang shab ni ramba shen du lenga zon sal dabla ti tar gu chi yila cheba na yingola yingor yanla ragba nam cha chetsam chartoba chona wedang jibi sabu ma chon yang 대zam기 촉시제니 델라 셈 송디 너들 대zam기 촉시제니 셈 문점바 텔레장 사와신 드니 양양 살담나 미버서든 조양 땡인진 땡부 미니바 마세 니비 계순 결라스 다른 셈드는 샤고 그래스 결라스 미버치 무사야 차체점 되냐라 셈소나 땡인진 뉴트 녀진 데니사월람 복 땜비 사차 델라든지 비체로스.
So next, Lama Tsongkhapa explains the process by which we develop clarity, greater clarity as we focus on the object. And it says, that being so, the measure of first rendering the object of attention that the mind focuses on is as follows. When you visualize the head, 2 arms, torso, and the 2 legs successively, complete a couple of times and then attend to the whole body at the end of that, if merely half of the limbs and features appear to the mind, be satisfied with that and focus on it, even if there is no brilliant clarity. If you are not satisfied with that alone and you do not focus on it, but rather seek more clarity and repeatedly visualize, the object will become clear, but not only you will fail to acquire stable concentration, this will become an obstacle to its acquisition. So even though the object is not precise, you will acquire concentration more quickly if you focus on just that mere partial object. Then, owing to its benefit for clarity, the clarity aspect will also be accomplished easily.
Dene löben işi de dambali çonde kalçeos ra löben işi de da nyamyong toni nyamyong toni sonşavanza bekişemures.
This Lama Tsongkhapa says, this appears in Master Yesheda's advice and is essential. And Master Yesheda explained that based upon his personal experience, and therefore those instructions for developing our concentration are very important. Have you got any questions? Questions, qualms, objections? If not, we can leave it here for now. All right. And so we'll finish off with reciting the final Lamrim prayer. Put it here on the screen. For my 2 collections, vast space that have amassed from working with effort at this practice for a great length of time. And I become the chief leading Buddha for all those whose minds, wisdom, eyes blinded by ignorance. Even if I do not reach this state, may I be held in your loving compassion for all others, Manjushri. May I find the best of complete graded past teachings. May I please all the Buddhas by my practice, using skillful means drawn by the strong force of compassion. May I clear the darkness from the minds of all beings with the points of the path as I've discerned them. May I hold Buddha's teachings for a very long time, with my heart going out with great compassion in whatever direction the most precious teachings have not yet spread, or once spread have declined. May I reveal this treasure of happiness and aid. May the minds of those who wish for liberation be granted boundless peace. And the Buddha's deeds be nourished for a long time by even this great path of enlightenment, completed due to the wondrous virtuous conduct of the Buddhas and their sons. May all human and non-human beings will eliminate adversity and create conducive conditions for practicing the excellent paths, never departed in any of the lives in the purest path praised by the Buddhas. Whenever someone makes effort to act in accordance with the 10-fold Mahayana's virtuous practices, may always be assisted by the mighty ones, and may oceans of prosperity spread everywhere. Thank you.